Mother-in-laws of Reddit, in the interest of fairness, what are your crazy daughter-in-law stories? Daughter-in-law here. My husband and his mom have had a strained relationship due to politics the last few years, but a little over a year ago I got a DUI. It was a supreme fuck up on my part, and I take full responsibility. I made stupid choices. Hence the throwaway. Anyway, my husband gets the call that I'm getting arrested, and he chose in the moment to call his mom to help versus my mom. My mom is super chill and a good woman in a crisis, and was arguably the more pragmatic choice, but I think he just needed his mom, understandably. So he calls his mom to come watch our kid while he figures out bail and picking me up and all that. I'll never forget coming home at like 4 AM feeling so embarrassed and overwhelmed, and she was there, arms wide open to accept and comfort me. This diminutive church-going southern mama grabbed me and held my atheist, fuck-up ass for what seemed like an eternity, but in a good way. Like all her natural mom energy was passing through me. We may not agree on most things, but I'll never forget how loved she made me feel at my lowest, without judgment or pretense. I hear horror stories about in-laws and I think how lucky I am. I flashed back to my old roommate. He was OCD in the actual diagnosed sense. Dishes had to be washed and the scrub clean, rinse, soap down, rinse cycle 6 times all day, and any dishes they touched were to be considered as dirty, as if someone had shit on them. He knew that I refused to do that when I did dishes, and so he'd yell at me that he had to redo all the dishes just to be sure. So I offered instead to just have my singular bowl and my titanium spork which would be kept in my room and he and his girlfriend could use/do all the rest of the dishes. He agreed to this proposal. And so the dishes were just never cleaned, because he never had time to do them, and his girlfriend basically just refused to do any cleaning of any kind whatsoever, and literally took all the pills in my first aid kit within a week of moving in, and then complained about how dangerous I was making things by not spending another $200 to restock it. The sink eternally stank, and I got passive-aggressive grumbling about the lack of doing any cleaning, which ended when I adopted the policy of even the slightest of mention of that was given the full spiel about how he refuses to accept my level of cleaning. 1 cycle, maybe a second, if the dish seemed truly abhorrently dirty, and that he agreed to take on the entire responsibility for the dishes. Throwaway. We lived on the other side of the country from them, so we didn't have many visits, 1 or 2 a year. When we visited, all was well, the house was clean, the kids were cared for, etc. She was fun to be around. However, once we left, life went back to normal for my son and grandkids. She would say she was going to the store, and would not come home for 2 to 4 days. She did drugs. She did not clean anything. My son traveled for business, and when he was gone she had many different men in the house. He would come home to a trashed house, trashed car, trashed everything. She would put the kids to bed, then leave to party. She kept the 2 oldest kids home from school when he traveled. She was too busy sleeping from partying all night to take them to school. As he was making plans to leave her and take the kids, she killed the youngest child and is now in jail awaiting trial. All of this came out after she died. I wish they had never met. I'm the future daughter-in-law, pretty much considered daughter-in-law at this point, because I've been welcomed into the family with open arms. It's not so much me that's shitty but my family. I grew up in very rural Alabama and most of my family are Southern Baptist and very racist. My partner is from Michigan, but has lived all over, and the very first question my grandparents asked when we started dating is he Catholic? Because they loathe Catholicism. If he wasn't white they would have been very sad, and couldn't allow that in the family. Their words exactly. I have mental health issues that were definitely inherited from my parents. The first time my partner met my dad was drunk. Mom is very emotionally manipulative and a hoarder. I always feel like a shitty daughter-in-law because I haven't wanted his family to meet my family for obvious reasons, and they always want me to FaceTime them or come see them when he visits, and I rarely choose to do so. It's not that I don't like them, I love them so much, and they have welcomed me into their family so graciously. I just feel shitty because my mental health has been at an all-time low, and I'm too self-conscious to video chat them, let alone go see them. I used to be very communicative with them and a really good daughter-in-law, but lately I've been really bad about keeping in touch. It's hard to explain to them what's going on as well, because mother-in-law is a very happy person and does not understand mental illness very much. I tried to talk to her about my dad's mental issues one time, and she was very kind and listened, but was giving advice that wasn't quite the advice someone would be giving if they entirely understood what was going on. I only hope they don't think I avoid contact frequently, because I hate them. I try to message them and let them know I appreciate things that they do for us. I'm trying to be better about it, but first and foremost I have to get my mental health in check in order to be the best daughter-in-law I can be. I'm the daughter-in-law. In my mother-in-law's path, I'm the evil snake that is ruining her family and its values. I'm manipulating her son into a man that rejects his family and won't let them into our lives. My husband suddenly has these boundaries and secrets. He doesn't want to be involved in anything with his family and refuses to invite them over to see our children. I must be changing him and turning him against them. It's all my fault. Reality is, my mother-in-law is a huge boundary stomper and doesn't have basic respect for us. We have very simple boundaries, and she has fits about them because she can't do whatever she wants when she wants. For goodness sake, she literally bitched about how she has to make an appointment to come over to our house instead of just popping by whenever she felt like it. She expects my husband to be her personal free laborer, and her idea of family is her being heavily involved in every aspect of my and my husband's lives. Her increasing ridiculousness just keeps pushing my husband further away from her with each issue she blows up on. So yeah, I'm a horrible daughter-in-law in my mother-in-law's eyes, but I'm honestly neutral about it. I don't need or want her approval. Happened to my family. My aunt has borderline personality disorder. My uncle and her were both divorced when she met him. She claimed her ex-husband had carved his name into her arm with a screwdriver. The scars were there. We all felt really bad for her, and initially she seemed okay. My uncle and aunt used to live with my grandparents at that point when they got married. Then weird shit started happening where she would beat her kids and not let my grandparents near them. Fast forward a few years, my grandmother passed away. My aunt burned all the family photos from my grandmother's safe and stole the heirlooms left for my mother. She then took a literal axe to the crib we gave to her. It used to be mine and my sister's before me. Denies any knowledge of any of the destruction. The neighbors saw all of this happen. My grandfather had enough and asked my aunt, uncle, and at point 2 kids, to move to the apartment upstairs. He owned the building and lived off the rent post-retirement. She would throw trash and human feces from her balcony into his balcony. Eventually, this woman, who is 5 feet 9 inches and an aerobics instructor, threatened to accuse my 5 feet 0 inch grandfather of sexual assault if he didn't sign over the whole building to her and move out. Eventually, he sold the building to a property developer and now lives with my parents. A couple of years ago, we found out from others who knew her family that my aunt had been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and schizophrenia years earlier. She had carved her ex-husband's name into her arm in order to emotionally blackmail him into staying. My aunt and uncle are still married, though he literally took up a job in Nigeria just to get away from her. We don't talk anymore. Untreated mental illness is a terrible thing. If you and your parents lie about it to a prospective partner, that is totally abhorrent. Be honest and seek help. I hoped you enjoyed. More content coming soon.